I am so over the moon that they asked me to moderate this panel. This subject is such a passion for me, and for good reason. Plant medicine has changed my life, it's changed my trajectory, and it's changed who I am. And I can promise you, I was not headed here, and my story will be so different from everybody else's. There's a lot of people out there who really jump in. They're enthusiasts, and they're like, Danny, big risk takers, right? High risk, high reward. I'm not that person at all. I'm super skeptical about a lot of things, and I feel pretty clear about what I am going to do and not do. Plant medicine I was not going to do. And then all of a sudden, I felt this divine awakening around it. And one thing I know how to do is follow energy. But I will also tell you, as soon as I got the download, the next weeks of my life were either considered insane or synchronistic. But everything appeared before me majestically to say, you're in the right direction. We want you to do this. So I started many years ago doing plant medicine, and several of those experiences, game changers. One of them was leaving the country and going to Costa Rica 4 nights back to back, ayahuasca, yahe. And the divine started coming to me and telling me who I was. And I had no context for the words she was using, including shaman. I definitely didn't have, as a white girl from California, New York, any context. But it put me on a journey, because I'm a journalist, of curiosity, which opened me up to this path of now being, for many years, a certified shamanic practitioner, Munaki rites practitioner, and deep diving into many other modalities of plant medicine when they spoke to me. That's been a big part of my journey. They tell me. So here I am now. It put me on the shamanic path. Also, Huachuma, same thing, which is a great heart opener made from a cactus. The divine came to me again and asked me about music, and I had been a singer and a musician my whole life. Gave it up when I went into radio, and the divine came and said, what happened to music? And I told the shaman, and the shaman was very beautiful in this conversation, so much so that now I do music. I sing. I've been singing again for many years. And so it goes. Many of these openings, even mushrooms, which I find to be a very divine form of something beautiful the earth gives us. When I was having this amazing mushroom experience and fairies were there, and all of a sudden there was music playing, and I saw the matrix of music. Literally, I'd never experienced anything like that before. And I was able to sing with music I'd never heard before, move in and out of music, and understand exactly where the music was going. And it completely has changed my relationship as a singer and a musician. So these are just small reference points. And more recently, and I've done ketamine and all the things, but it's different because when I was a kid, it was about partying. Today, it's about, I don't even know, it's so much more than growing. It's really following this soul energy that's wanting to blossom into something else, know something else, understand something else. And I feel very honored to be moderating this panel of amazing people and experts, some of whom are my friends and I have journeyed with, and to learn more from them. So I want to just tell you, whether you're a complete beginner and just super curious, you will definitely learn things. Whether you've been experimenting but are curious about other things, you will learn. And if you're deeply into it, I still think you're going to learn, because some of the people on this panel have gone very far with what they are experiencing, experimenting with, exploring. There's water in the background, all the way in the back, and that's because it's easier than us going in and out of the room, so please use that water, it's for you. I have a timer, and everybody's gonna get 5 minutes for an answer, because this is so important, and I wanna make sure every voice up here gets heard. And the last thing I wanna say, 2 things, this is ancient. This is not new. It may feel new, but this has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And the ancients used this. This was their community tools, their growth tools. You know, mushrooms, amanita mushrooms from Siberia, and all the beautiful places. In Siberia, the word shaman means isaman, one who knows. And there's a reason why sometimes in their practices they used entheogenic plants to transcend, to bring back, and why they utilize it and why we utilize it as well. And then at the very end, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A, because how could you not have a question about this subject? It's so deep and wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce our panelists first. And I'm going to start with Yuri Lee, who's right here in the middle in white. Yuri and I have known each other for 7 years. I met Yuri out of country, total strangers, Costa Rica. This is the big divine event I was telling you about when a divine came and said, you're a shaman, you're a healer, you're a priestess, over and over and over every night. And Yuri was on her own path at that time. I think this will always be a reference point for our souls, and that all these beautiful events have brought us back together again, and she's doing her gorgeous work out there with Blue Lotus, with Amanita mushrooms. Her products are phenomenal. She's got a booth here. And so this is the priestess, Yuri Lee. She's a dear friend of mine whom I've shared lots of chili and DMT and incredible explorations with. This is Paul Hynek, who I adore. He's a Renaissance man. I mean, what can I say? I want to speak more about his personality because that's what I know and love, but out in the world, he's so successful. Finance, Bitcoin. He knows a lot about this molecule that we'll be getting into, and he is such a social guy. He can introduce you to some of the most amazing people on the planet. A very warm heart, and I'm really excited you're on this panel. Paul Hynek. Danny Goler. Okay, oh, Danny. What a deep guy. You know, CNN just did a segment on Danny, but also, that's just the top of the iceberg. This is a burgeoning voice right now for this work, for simulation theory, for what's possible, and he is willing to push the boundaries to find out more with extended forms of DMT and come back and report on it. So Danny Goler. Then we've got Medicine Mama Tiana. Conscious work with natural psychedelics, mushrooms, and sacred plants, and she guides earth-based ceremonies and psilocybin journeys. Tiana. And Paul K. Karasik. Paul K. brings decades of experience in the world of psychedelics. He was a member of an early psychedelic community in New York and California, so we got some OGs here, which included Timothy Leary and Ram Dass. Give it up. And then Mark Cole, I'm so excited to have you here today as well, because award-winning commercial director, founder of Frequency House. His life was saved by plant medicine. That's a story. And he also has a mushroom brand. Beautiful. So, let's get started, shall we? All right. I'm going to start with Danny. And I really mean it about the time, because I'm excited to hear from you all. So Danny, I want to know, and I would like you to tell everybody, please, about the plant medicine you work with, its uses, and what makes it for you, and maybe for others, sacred medicine.
I'll start my talk too. So I work mainly with DMT, and I think the way it stands out is that it presents more of a matter-of-fact picture of hyperspace versus one that is accompanied by many changes of the actual perceptual machinery that we have. So, when you do LSD or you do mushrooms, they reveal more, but at the same time you feel changed. Something is happening to you. With DMT, it doesn't seem that way, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like you're completely normal, but everything else changes. And that makes it a lot more confounding in many ways, and this is why it's very often jarring for people. But I think that what it reveals is that there's some kind of a main artery to reality that we can gain access to directly. And I like that because I like to come from the scientific perspective, but also at the same time, I know that whatever science currently considers as the mainframe of where we should investigate is a very tiny sliver of the picture. So in that regard, we can actually bring this investigation to a new level by bringing ourselves into the picture as we are, and then interacting with whatever that other space is in a way that meeting it where it is. So have a real communion, real relationship with it. And that's the part that makes it sacred for me.
Excellent. And since you have a little more time left, I want to ask you if you could explain to people the difference between doing the short version, because the short version, if you smoke DMT, 5-10 minutes for most people in and out, as opposed to the extended version, which you have experimented with.
Oh, you're talking about like intravenous DMT? Yeah, so I did the extra intravenous DMT in Colorado with the incredible Kevin and Haley. Highly recommend if everybody's interested, I'll connect you, they're amazing at that. And because we were also shooting a movie, so we had like a crew of 5 plus the facilitators. It was a very tiny room, but we shot a bunch of experiments for the work that I did with the laser, and we ended up going for 5 hours, and I ended up basically, I think, holding the world record basically. So it was like 464 milligrams total over 5 hours. The one thing that really separates that from the smoke version is, well, A, the fact that you can just stay in there, but also it's actually softer. So it doesn't have that very punchy thing that you feel when you smoke a lot of it. It ramps up more like a hockey stick, so still fast, but not like a rocket ship. And I really enjoy, well, for me the experience was very much along the angelic realms, which is, you don't always meet that on DMT. Very often people email me and they're like, I think I did it wrong, I just met machines from the future. I'm like, yeah, that's what DMT is. I don't know who told you it's supposed to be angels. But angels do come sometimes. And that was, like the first 2 hours, that was my experience. So it was all about the moral code and ethics and how it ties to the larger picture of how everything else works, how it's not just a local thing, but it actually influences everything else. And it was a very beautiful experience, of course. Funny enough, I actually think it's less extreme. Because I think that A, you have this connection with you and the facilitators, and they can actually dial it down to as low as you want. And there's a lot more control because there's a scientist involved, an actual chemist who knows what he's doing around you. And you can basically tailor to the experience in a much better way, and you can also relax. You don't have to worry about anything else. So I actually think, I never considered it that way, but I think it's a vehicle for a much better and smoother investigation for somebody who can, willing to put in the time and the funds to do it. So I highly recommend it for anyone who's really interested to look deeper with it.
That's amazing. Well, I can say that makes me really want to investigate that a little more, especially knowing it's smoother and has more possibilities.
It's very smooth. Chase Hughes, he's open about it, so it's not, he saw me do it and he said, okay, I gotta go do it, and he went and did it. When he came back, he called me, he said I never wanted to leave. It was just, he's like, I was just in heaven.
Beautiful, thank you so much. Well, that's a juicy one to start with. Mark, we'll go down to you. Can you share an outstanding experience that you've had with plant medicine? How did you get through it? How did it change you?
One particular experience, Well, I can talk about my first ayahuasca ceremony, I guess it was 12 years ago now, that completely took my head off. And basically, my background was alcohol. I mean, I was a fairly well-known director, cameraman from back east, and I fell into alcoholism severely, and went into 10 years of rehabs and did all the treatments and everything I was told, all the chemicals, all the pills, all the therapy, everything. Until and one day I stumbled across a ayahuasca ceremony in a closed down yoga studio on Lincoln Boulevard in a sleeping bag, knowing no one, no intake, no shaman, a chemist, and I hung on. And I had no idea what happened, but it brought me the most joy I'd ever had, and with that, it was just because it removed thought. Right? We were born joy. Pure consciousness is joy. When we look in a baby's eyes, we're connecting with source. Period. Everything else is taught. So it untaught that for a few hours, and I went, okay, I'm in. Where's next? And it was super underground back then, and I just, we were doing it in tents and the woods and the desert, and I didn't care. Nothing. I had almost died from alcoholism. I was completely broke, so I was fearless. I did not care, and I just kept going and kept going. And the consciousness that we go into in these realms is available to everyone, and this is ancient stuff. Everybody's getting on AI for answers. I'm like, good luck. That's machine learning. I said, I go into the universal field of consciousness. It's right here. We're standing in it. It is the distance and the space between us, the field of information that is in us, all of us. We are it. It's not in us. It's flowing through us in this moment. We cannot detect it. We can't hear it. So the medicine we grow is in a sacred sound chamber to open up the mind and not the brain, the mind. The mind has no location, right? So the awareness that comes with the medicine is just to stop thought so that we can tap into this guidance system, as I call it. Yes, it breaks addictions. It broke my addiction. My addiction was not to alcohol. My addiction was it was revealed to me, I was fulfilling the identity of what an alcoholic does. And this is a rehab system I've redesigned. And what does an alcoholic do? They drink. So the identity is shifted through plant medicine. And when we shift identity, everything else follows, because the human body and brain will only visualize and see, record through the five senses what it thinks it is, information that pertains to that, and extrapolates anything that is not. So the filtering system, the editing system of the subconscious mind, which is the nervous system, is adapt to do that. So we cannot see what we're doing. We cannot see who we are, really are. So I believe in the archetypal positions in the humanity, that we're all here for a reason, and the medicine shows us purpose. Why are we here? Ask simple questions. Why are you getting out of bed in the morning? To make money? What are you doing? What's your true purpose? And when you find that true North Star, which is what the medicine did for me, is it took me out of my illusionary role and identity and put it into a new one. And I didn't even know it happened for about 5 years. And I realized I had done some advanced Kundalini yoga training, and the yogis told me, you're addicted to your story and you don't even know what it is. And your identity lives in that subconscious mind, which is 100 times powerful than the conscious mind. We're unaware of it, and it will always win, as mine did as an alcoholic. I would always battle alcohol. If you're obese, you will battle your weight. So I realized I changed my story. And once I did that, everything changed. I found purpose. I had a stick floating down straight. Trying to swim up. Because I don't even know how much time.
That's it.
Time
Thank
is
you.
irrelevant.
That's beautiful.
There's no time.
I'm glad you did that so you can be here with us now and spread that inspiration and that message. That's really important. You did it without ibogaine too, which is amazing.
What?
Ibogaine,
Oh,
iboga, would be typically people who are addicts will use that, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. Okay, Paul Karasik, I'd love you to tell us who should do plant medicine, who should not do plant medicine, and why.
Well, great. I'll just introduce kind of what we're doing today. And what we're doing today at the Psychedelic Institute, we're a 501(c) nonprofit. By the way, I just had lunch with Kevin.
Thorban?
Kevin.
Oh, Thorban.
Just had lunch with him, yeah.
Amazing.
A couple of days ago. It's a small world. I want to refer, I say that because I want to refer to what I'm about to mention right now. Our institute feels that the only hope is consciousness in a world that's suffering on every level, society-wise, and on an individual basis. You know, if I asked everybody here if you knew anybody, and actually on the panel too, that's committed suicide. Anybody? Anybody know anybody that suffered from alcoholism or addiction like Mark? Yeah. And if I asked you if they were close friends and family, probably all the hands would go up. Yeah. This is an epidemic. And I had a download on DMT in Ohio in 2020 that said you have to create a community that offers education to this. And I said, I don't want to do it. and when the medicine tells you something, you can say, I don't want to do it all day long, you know. Because I had been in leadership positions. I was a high-powered management consultant for 20 years. I've led many organizations, and I said, you know, I just want to be quiet. I want to, right, Debbie? And the medicine said, no. And the main point is this, and the question was, who's ready for it? Which I'll get to. We need each other. We need each other. The world of psychedelics right now is an outsider's world. We live on the fringe. And isn't it such a sad reflection of our society that these healers that you're looking at right here, everybody on this panel, that we have to hide in caves, and that we have to sneak around, and we're creating miracles in people's lives. Isn't that a shame? Is there a greater crime to humanity than to hold back psychedelics from an addict, an alcoholic, somebody suffering from depression, people who are on 4 and 5 SSRIs at a time? Look around, my daughter. Look around, your friends. And so we see psychotherapy doesn't have a great track record. I don't know anybody that's been cured. I know people that pay $500 an hour and they've been going for 50 years, these clowns. I don't see any change in them at all. And so what's the hope? How do we raise consciousness? And so I personally feel, like many on the panel here, that we need a nuclear explosion of consciousness. Not a gradual, I'm gonna meditate for 20 fucking years thing. We need a fucking nuclear explosion of consciousness. Hello? And the only thing that can bring that is psychedelics. And this is my belief. It's just my belief. And so the few things that we're concerned with are safe access. Is my pen? Oh, I'm sorry. Safe access, number one, and if you go to our booth, we'll hook you up with all lab-tested, safe access. That's number one. That's the number one thing, is safety, what you're taking when you get involved with psychedelics. Is it for everybody? I want to refer to what Mark said, and I'll wrap it up for you, Debbie. Mark said something very, very critical to this whole thing, is that person has to be ready to let go of that mind-ego identity. has to be ready. A woman came up to our booth, 8:05 if you're looking, by the food, and she said, "Are psychedelics right for me?" And I said, "I don't know. Do they call you?" See, medicine calls you. It's not like penicillin. It calls you, it has a voice, it has universal intelligence. You're tapping universal intelligence. Sometimes I don't feel worthy. And so your job with medicine, and this is the person who's ready for it, and no other person, is you have to connect with that spirit. And people say, we have a wide variety of psychedelics, but I'll say, I don't know what to take, Paul. I don't know what to... No, you know what to take. What's calling you? Well, I've always had this thing about LSD. I took it when I was younger, and it's... Listen. Your intuition's never wrong. Just listen to your intuition. It's telling you. Well, I thought that's the calling I'm talking about. So, no, everybody shouldn't take it, but anybody with a calling. So the woman comes up in this little consultation I did yesterday, and she says, should I take it? And I told her the truth. No, you need to suffer.
Damn, nice job.
It's the truth.
You know, thank you so much for that, and I want to just add, because Yuri gave a talk earlier that I was in, and she was bringing up such an important point, which is her background, where she studied, for free, of course, working under somebody who was serving medicine as a facilitator for 5 years. And then after 5 years, she could graduate to co-facilitating, still for free, for 2 years. So it's 7 years. It's so important, this also, who you work with, what kind of space, container they create. In this day and age where people walk around and say, I'm a business shaman. That doesn't exist, and it's actually disrespectful. A shaman is of lineage. Shaman has put in decades and decades of discipline. They've been chosen by a spirit. And absolutely to what Paul said, that you're called, because so much of my life has been this calling where I'm like, what? I'm not even headed here. That's not even my consciousness, but it sure becomes my consciousness. And there's a lot of truth to that, to trust that call, that knowing, because on the other side, I can promise you is magic and miracles, whatever you go through to get there. And I do think to know who holds the space is essential, because you're bringing your vulnerability, your person, your soul, your psyche there for very good purpose. So put it in good hands. Thank you. All right. Yuri, let's talk about sovereignty versus surrender. So plant medicine ceremonies give us an opportunity to have massive acts of the surrender experience, which in my experience is the best way to go about it when you do plant medicine, because things will come up, things will happen. So how do we distinguish between authentic spiritual surrender versus the avoidance of necessary trauma processing that really requires some more grounded prior therapeutic work?
That's a huge question, so let's get my head around it. Surrender. When you go into plant medicine ceremony, what happens is your ego quiets down. And that's how I call that as a surrendering moment, for you to actually see and feel without the noise of actually yourself. Because you have many noises and opinions that's coming from your subconscious without even knowing that it's coming at you. So we always have these intentions and the dreams and the goals that we want to achieve, whether it's in healings or creating something, and it's always your ego is in between for things to manifest. So for healing, what I experienced was, I'm a healer. I've been doing this for 20 years in many different modalities that is possible. And people do come because they have symptoms, physical, emotional, spiritual symptoms. Everyone has some sort of a challenge, and they either want me to heal or they want something to heal them. So we work through that, and most times what I find is people give it up. People give it up. And that's without psychedelic plant medicine. People give it up. I give them the best protocol that you can imagine. If you just follow, you will heal. But they don't follow because your ego is giving all these voices and questions back at you. And what I found the most interesting thing is, and it's something that came to me in my plant medicine journey, a lot of people actually don't want to heal. Because if you heal, you have to show up 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And there are no more excuses why you're not doing and hitting your goals. So your ego is fighting the best you can so that you don't hit that point. What plant medicine helps you is dissolving that ego. So your ego is being quiet at the ceremony moment, and that's when you could truly surrender yourself. And with that, there is a beautiful message that comes in. And that message isn't about go do something or move there and create this company. It's creating a space so that you can connect to yourself clearly. And it's not gonna happen over one ceremony or 10 ceremonies. It's a work in progress, and you don't wanna do that by, okay, I'm gonna go down to Amazon, and I'm gonna do 20 days, and it's gonna change my entire life, because it doesn't. So you wanna take it more as on practice. And that is the reason why I offer people to get to know your plants. Little by little, and that's one of the safest way for you to understand which plant connects you more than others. Because there is actually your plants. I had many different choices that I could work with. And I understood, oh wow, the peyote is not my medicine. I tried to reach out the medicine, the teachers, and I'm not meeting. It's not meant for me to practice with it, right? And ayahuasca was my first medicine, 20 years ago actually. It was given to me, and I love them, and I respect the shamans, and I never actually thought that I want to be part of that because it was very sacredly guarded by the indigenous. But it kind of spoke to me in a way that you don't have to facilitate the way that indigenous does, but bringing in the energy. So in my ceremony, I'm bringing in the energy. And I know the time is up, so.
Perfect.
Yes. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Wow. Tiana, there's so much to think about here, right? It's like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this conversation, to tell you the truth. And I like this idea about find your medicine. I mean, I don't know, I think outside of iboga, that's the only thing I haven't done. I don't know, for me, 32 hours of nausea. not being able to move. I like the idea of being able to ask any question and get it answered. That appeals to me. But the process really sounds rough. I've never been called to that. I loved ketamine, although that's a chemical, but I loved ketamine when I did it. But I have to say, yeah, for me too, probably, I would say my medicines probably are ayahuasca for sure, DMT and mushrooms. Yeah, and changa, yes, which, yeah, thankfully Paul introduced me to that because DMT was very difficult on my throat. So for those of you who have a tough time using that methodology, and Danny probably knows many other ways we could get it into us, but also using changa and a pipe is, my voice is my business. So I don't mess with it, but we found creative ways to get around that. Oh, Tiana, my dear medicine mama, let's talk about the future of dosage, micro versus macro. The current clinical research largely focuses on high dose or microdose models. Can you speak to the micro or mega use dosage to create breakthroughs for the average person?
I like that question. Okay, well, first before I answer it, hello everyone. I want to say thank you to everyone on this panel for showing up in this field. It is a very big deal for the work we are doing. This is, God's work in every single representation of every single person. We're all so different. So I want to say thank you. I'd love to share this panel with all of you guys. Now, as for dosing, there's everything you can say about that, but the most important thing is intentions, right? Spiritually, mentally, physically, on your timeline, depending where you're at. Everyone's different, right? Like, these are all my elders right here. So I'm almost 30. So where I'm at is probably different when they're all at, and where you guys are all at, probably where different where any of us are at, or experience-wise. So intentions is something that you have to look deep within to figure out, right? In life, for everything you do, not only medicine, because everything in life can be medicine. This is just a gateway, a messenger to access that medicine. So if you do think about your intention, some people, they do like getting the benefits of microdosing, which I really do recommend, because the first time I ever took mushrooms, I was like, I'm a hard head. I was like, let me just get the whole experience. And then, in a deep journey, you're not really here anymore. So I wasn't expecting to go somewhere so deep. You leave this realm, right? So when you're leaving the realm, it's a very spiritual, activating, beautiful, enlightening, uplifting, like charge to your spirit. But if you microdose it, you can still get all of that. It's slower, right? Not all at one time. If you take a large dose, the effects will, you'll feel it immediately. That next day, you'll feel so much. But sometimes some people will just take that one large dose, like I think someone mentioned earlier, early in their life, and it'll affect them because they took such a large dose, and then they'll be scared to ever go back to that space they just went to. And that's not the point. We don't want to build fear with the medicine. So I do think when you intentionally take your time with things and don't jump into things, it's the safest route to the whole experience. But if you're like me and you're like, I just want to go all in, or maybe some of us, go ahead, go crazy. But also it would be nice to have a facilitator there or a close friend to watch you if you are going to do that. So if you are going to microdose, though, I do recommend going on protocols. There are so many protocols out there. Some people do 1 day on, 2 days off. Some people do 2 days on, 2 days off. And just like any other medication that you get from the doctor, you do have to, put if you microdose it, try the medicine out for 30 to 60 days, just like the doctor says, right? you're gonna change all the chemicals in your body, right? You're gonna get adapted to this medicine. I do only work with natural plant medicines, nothing with chemicals. So when these, your body starts activating, you can now receive the medicine fully. You will see the changes. Sometimes if you take a microdose once or twice, you're like, oh, I didn't really feel it, or I don't know if I felt it. So the whole point is to get the full experience without the full dose, right? But take your time with it, So if you take a low enough dose, you can still function. You can still do your work. You can still go to school. You can still, go hang out with the family. Whatever you need to do in your life. But if you do a hero dose or a macro dose, which that does start about 1.5 grams more for at least mushrooms, and same thing with some other plant medicines, it's about the same. But if you do take a larger dose like that, I definitely recommend being in a safe space with safe people, feeling like just love your own energy. I always say you want to like pack up like you're going on a trip, right? Bring all your goodies, like whether you like your crystal or a journal or you're an artist or you like to sing. So that is the most important when it comes to dosing, just being super intentional. Keyword, intentions.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a huge important point that you made, Tiana. And I want to say I had something happen recently where this came up when CNN was doing part of their segment filming for Danny Goler. We went to Paul's house, and I thought I was being invited just in as observer, and I was fascinated. The best laid plans. And I didn't know, like, all I know is we were talking about a white wall, a red laser, and a red laser. And again, major skeptic, so I'm looking at white wall, red laser. And I had no idea I would participate in the experiment. And so 4 of us did. And I smoked the changa, I did changa, not the DMT, sat against the wall, and boom, I saw snakeskin. And it's not like anything you'd see here, but beautiful. I got so excited about it that I wanted to do more and go deeper. And so Paul facilitated, and I had another bowl of this changa and went back and wham! I mean, I went way deep into a whole city. And I only know this because I see the trailer played back that I said, Danny said, what are you seeing? Or Donnie from CNN said that, and I said, it's mythological. And I couldn't even express, I could not articulate. Thank God Danny was there to say, it's really hard to talk now. But it was so exquisite, the colors, the experience, and what was my next feeling? Let's go deeper. And I'm so grateful Paul pulled me, because my heart was beating really fast, not healthy, right? And everything in me said, well, what do you do? Like, let's go, let's see what else is there. That was my best thinking. And Paul said, he was so kind in that moment to say, I think let's stop here. Let's go have some chili and move on. And I'm really grateful, because I feel like health-wise, that would have been detrimental. So exactly, amen to who's with you and the safe space around you, who's sitting with you, who knows, who cares, right? Very, very important. We're going to do questions at the end. Thank you. Because we have to get to Paul Hynek. We often talk, Paul, about the benefits of ayahuasca, DMT, and psilocybin, but every medicine has its boundaries. What do you wish people understood about the risks, contradictions, or energetic sensitivities before saying yes to a ceremony?
Hello, everybody. First, I want to build on what my wise friend Paul said, and I will say, fuck sneaking around. So so much to chew on what everybody said. I will be doing the extended state DMT in April with Kevin. And before that, I have developed what I call the poor man's extended state DMT. As you know, it lasts 21 minutes, which is the exact length of the perfect DMT anthem song, Debbi Prayer. Which I heard the first few times I did DMT, and I've only heard during DMT. If you haven't played that song while you're doing DMT, it will hit you in a way that is so incandescently beautiful. Okay, so not everyone should rush headlong into psychedelics. The first time I did them, I was 11 years old, and I put six hits of acid in a ho-ho and went and saw Jethro Tull. And to what you said, I had no intention at all of just fucking around. And maybe that's not the way to approach these. I did a lot of psychedelics. I had long hair. And by the time I got to college, I gave them up because I'd done a lot of this crap and I preferred clarity over distortion. So I hung up my psychedelic cleats, so to speak. And then I got double tapped by DMT in one day. I won't go into all the specifics, but I was told about DMT and I had never heard of it because DMT needs a better marketing firm. And so I had a valid reason to. I come from a UFO background and I thought, well, you know, maybe I can find the dimension where aliens come from. You're a bona fide scientific research, folks. And I think that for me, I see two kinds of duality with DMT, the sort of exploration and then the inner healing, and then also the personal consumption and the facilitation. And I thought what you said here was just beautiful. And I was hooked from the very beginning, that this molecule, which is inside us, and we don't quite know why it is, it's perhaps a curious metabolic extravagance, but this is a molecule that is spoken to many of us here. I'm sure there's a lot of us here that have enjoyed this molecule. And it's not, you know, I've had people say, oh, Paul, man, why do you do this stuff? You don't need to do DMT, just meditate, you can get there. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I love that one.
Do what you want to do, you know, go with God. I don't know where you go, and if what you're doing works for you, great. But you don't know what I do. And for anybody here who's done psychedelics, it's not cheating. It's not cheating your way around. It's putting in the work. When I listen to Debbi Prayer, as you know, I cry my eyes out. I'm somewhere between grief and gratitude. And it's bringing up stuff. It's hard work. And so you don't obviously rush headlong into this. And I think, Paul, you said it does call to you. DMT will call and tell you, okay, it's time, no more for you tonight. Oh no, you're only here for the humpe tonight. All sorts of variations of this. And I think, yeah, that's about it.
So much to chew on. We need better marketing and branding firms, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been in and out too, and I did a ton of Aya and all that. And then one day I went, I'm just complete. I feel complete. And a year or two later, she came and said, I want you to sit with me. And one thing I just want to say that's hilarious to me about plant medicine is a lot of times you go in and the facilitator will say, what's your intention? And people sit around and talk about intentions. I think that's bullshit. Because you never get your intention. You get what you need. And talk about it.
Can I say, okay, I want to pat my friend Danny on the back here. He has what I think is the most beautiful plant medicine intention I've ever heard. Okay, so he's heard me tell the story a lot of times, sorry. So Danny was doing ayahuasca, and he asked Mother Ayahuasca a question. And she said, oh, I don't know. And she said, oh, you think I know everything. I don't. And so Danny's a little bit discombobulated, and it got him to think, perhaps an intention isn't what I can learn, what I can explore, what I can take, but what I can bring. And I thought that's just absolutely beautiful.
Yes. Bravo.
Yeah, but basically, it was it was actually came from a pretty, I don't know, I was a bit of a brat in that moment, to be honest. I basically realized she painted a shadow. I asked her if she can be more like DMT, because I'm very visual. And she's like, no problem. She made a whole DMT explosion happen. And then I saw there was one shade of purple. It was a little off, because I know DMT really well. I was like, that's not the right purple. And she goes like, yeah, I'm not DMT. I'm like, this is the closest I can do it. And I was like, oh. And then she goes like, yeah. I was like, what do you think? I'm like, God Almighty? And I went, oh. And then I realized, basically she was saying, it was actually beautiful, because I realized it's like, every one of us, when we go through these experiences, we bring something to the picture that all of these energies learn something from every single time we go. Even though she said, yeah, I know way more than you, for sure. But I don't know everything, so I learned something from you today. And I was like, wow, that's so... And then she saw that I realized, and she just winked at me. She said, I go like, okay, that's beautiful. The birth of responsibility. What are we bringing? Yeah.
What are we bringing? How are we serving? It's so true, even on medicine. And so, thank you guys. It was very good. For me, I suddenly got another call from Maya, who said, sit with me. But I went into complete assumption, which I've done a few times in my life. I said, oh, I'm on the shaman path. That's it. She wants me to sit with her because she has all these amazing shamanic downloads. I was so excited. I thought I was going to be the special one in the group. And I have to tell you, none of that happened. There was no shamanic downloads at all. But she had me for an entire weekend work on my relationship with my mother. Cleaning. At some point I had to call over the shaman because I was exhausted. Like, when does this end? He said it ends when you completely surrender to everything that is coming. And I said, I can do that. And a week later, my mother's health turned and she passed. And I was able to be there for my mother as a shaman. And I have to say, it was the most beautiful experience. And I have so much gratitude and love for the plant's wisdom. So I thought for me, the greatest thing would be these shaman downloads, Debbi the shaman. And she's like, no, baby, you're going to go through a big transition, and I want to prepare you for that transition. And I was prepared, because that's a big one, losing your parents. And it's nothing like I ever pictured it would be, all the crying, all the stuff, because I was so at peace and so there to serve my mother in her final days. So you never know when you'll get called. Yuri, many ancient cultures treated plant medicine as a living intelligence. Based on your experience, do these medicines have their own consciousness? And if so, how does that intelligence interact with us during ceremony?
Yes, my favorite subject. So plants and mushrooms, they all have a living intelligence, living spirit. And they all are different. They all have their characteristics, and that's the reason why some calls you and some don't connect with you. Because you don't need all of the plant medicine. You just need something that you resonate with. And that's the reason why I resonate with mushroom, because it brought me to the fairyland. So my second mushroom journey, I'm entering into this fairyland that I have never imagined that I could connect to, and that is available. And first I thought, am I hallucinating? Because is this something that people are saying about tripping? But actually, it is opening these dimensions that I'm connected to, and it is taking me to my origin, where I'm from, the most related to. So I'm most related to the fairyland. So I go there. And some people are more connected to the alien field. So they go there. And some go back to their ancestry on the earth. in a different state because that's where they have the most connection and they are the delivery. They are the time machine. And they are the one that takes you there. So they have a different characteristic and spirit. And when you're in the journey with them, that's why all the experiences are different. And why some shows you the aliens and machine and fairies and angels, because they have a different spirit attached to it. And when you are, I can just tell you about my experience is because what I engage the most is fairies. It's a living fairies that communicate with me alive in this space. So you definitely get a different aspect and different wisdom. And that's the reason why when you're taking ayahuasca, there is a very significant images comes through, and why people call that ayahuasca, Mother Ayahuasca. It's more of the goddess spirit. And I think that was my answer.
I love the fairy realm. I've seen them too on mushrooms. That is real. That is real. Paul, we're going to come back to you. Heineck, the unknowable mechanism, beyond the known neurochemical mechanisms, from a ceremonial or indigenous perspective, how do you articulate the intelligent agency inside of plant medicines? What is the qualitative difference between a powerful chemical reaction and what practitioners describe as communicating with the plant's spirit or consciousness?
Fuck if I know, I'm a French major.
Or answer what you like, what you feel inspired by what you're listening to.
Okay, I want to talk about intention.
Go
How
for it.
about that? That's my intention. As facilitators, there's this kind of stereotypical surface level facade thing about set and setting and have your intention. And I go back and forth on how much to sort of inject or prompt, to use today's parlance, an injection or to bring somebody back from it. I've seen type A people narrate their way through the whole thing and that feel bad because they couldn't narrate another trip. So for me, I think, and you said this, the plant medicine knows what you need more than what you want. And for me, I am a surrender monkey. I will surrender my palms up every time because from the very beginning, I just felt this unconditional love and help and healing. And so I think people get hung up too much sometimes on having the proper intention and going into that. I think if you go into it, my own intention now is pre-gratitude, gratitude, and post-gratitude. And I think that's all you really need. And you talked really well about this journey, about how to surrender. And I call it lean innery. And I've seen so many people in it, and myself, where you see something, and I think in the right situation, psychedelics can provide kind of a sandbox, almost like virtual reality, where you can sort of approach something almost at a safe distance. I've seen people see things and be scared, and then take a breath and then reinterpret. Like one woman saw all these little insects and she was terrified, and then she realized they were there to detox her. And whether or not these entities that we see are objectively real or not, they're not random. They're all there for you. You're dredging something up or bringing something to you, and there's so much richness in just having the intention to let the medicine help you and experience fully what it provides.
And if I can add a small thing to this, to me this whole intention thing is the easiest frame by thinking about it like going to a party. You want to define it, you don't just show up unannounced, right? So you make some plans, you decorate the place. That's the frame we're creating, right? There's a bit of a ceremonial thing, we're creating a container. But beyond that, just don't be an asshole. Just enjoy your time there, allow whatever is expressing itself to express itself, and your time will come, and then you get to express what you need to express. I think that's a much healthier way to go about it. I fully agree with you. I think there's a little bit too much is made out of this kind of, bow and all that stuff. It's like, it's fine, we want to pay respects, but very often the molecule would want to play and just enjoy yourself, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. I hope you're getting a lot of different points of view, because I am. I'm getting a lot out of this. All the
Could I?
aspects-
Yeah, I want to add something because that's a big thing. What you guys are talking about, this idea of, coming in with some minuscule kind of issue that has some fundamental thing that's so deep and rooted, and this should I fire my assistant question or something, like you're seeing God, like should I fire my assistant? Like, no, I've seen that at ayahuasca ceremony. And it's like, so your intention, to your point, it's like, you don't even know what you need. That's what we have to come with, this humility. And what Yuri said, these are living, breathing entities. These are people in just an invisible world. And, something that's not talked about in any of these circles, we try to talk about at Psychedelic Institute, is you're talking to real entities. These are people. She said, no, I'm not showing you that. She said this. She said, look at this. These are real people who are evolving on another plane. And once you start using psychedelics, you have access to these entities. And it's beautiful. I went to Brazil and just to meet with entities. It wasn't a terribly psychedelic, but that's where I've been connecting with them. And one, they saved my life. I had a terminal disease in 2019, and they said no, and it was incurable. And here I am.
Yeah.
So my love for these entities, so I was saying, and this applies to everybody here. So I'm going back, I have another issue, it's not life-threatening, but I know what Paul said, what everybody's saying up here. Go on that coffee date. Reach out to the entity before you do it. It's going to be there for you. It's going to show up. When you reach out, and you haven't even done it yet, the voice will be there. Yes, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Coffee date for the win.
Yeah, coffee date. And then, so I'm doing my coffee dates for 2 months. Every night I do my little thing at night. But I go I do usually a microdose, sometimes a microdose of cannabis, and I just be present with that great, beautiful presence that's available to all of us. And I'm saying, I'm going to get there on Wednesday, and I'm going to go into the ceremony with the entity and hopefully get healed. And long story short, I didn't do the medicine on Wednesday, but the medicine did me. It came into the room that night at the bed and breakfast and healed me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, so I went to meet with a medium the next day, a really dear friend of mine, Sonia, and I said, I prepared. And when you prepare in that what we're talking about, in that surrender state, that's when the beautiful thing happens. And she said, I had a dream about you last night, Paul. I said, what was that? She said, you brought a golden rose to the medicine, to the entities. And that, I wrote a song about it. That's what you have to bring, that golden rose from your heart. You nailed it. You fucking nailed it. It's not your intention, it's what are you bringing. And when you bring that rose from your heart, that golden rose, then the entities come on in. And they always treat you right, don't they? You never have weird shit happen if you bring a golden rose. So I just want to, it's that feeling. It's not about, like you said, the ceremony, prayer to the east and west, and we don't do a lot of that stuff in Psychedelic Institute.
I actually do that. It's just that I
Like last night?
I do that. It's with 5-MeO. 5-MeO is
Prayer to the west, and yeah.
Yeah, 5-MeO is big. But it's just that sometimes there's this overemphasis on the seriousness,
Yeah.
It's fine, there's a proper time for this. But sometimes
I
It's just
agree.
fun.
I
Just-
agree.
Or the sacredness, that Icaro is sacred. No, I can sing Let It Be, and it could be just as fucking sacred
Yeah.
as an Icaro.
Yeah.
I'm not from the Amazon, I'm from USA,
You know, my intention thing, that would, if I got a minute to piggyback on that, I agree with you guys on that. Because what I found is, this is ego. When we come in, it's like we're trying to control medicine. It's the other way around. You will not heal. You think you're in control, you are not. And this is what we need to learn in life, is to relinquish control. Because control creates expectations, and then we are disappointed, and that is ego. Right? So I agree with this methodology here. I mean, it was ingrained in me for years, intention, cool. But just know that come in and fully be vulnerable. Make sure you're safe, and the medicine is the teacher, is the healer. I am the person that points, and I make sure everybody's safe. But the intelligence, I've been instructed many times in ceremony with clients to not interfere. The medicine has said to me, hey, we have healed you, right? We'll call you if we need you. Okay? They're like, we are doing things you will never ever understand, and it's not ours to teach you. Listen, learn, sit still, we'll ring you if we need you. In fact, turn the music off, because the music you're doing is a type of control. You're trying to manipulate. As humans, we do this, and we are unaware of these things. So intentions and all this stuff, that is ego, I believe. That is us trying to control an outcome of what we're doing, right? So I just think, just let it be, man. Just let it be. Stop thinking, stop controlling, stop manipulating. Stop, all day, I get, what am I gonna feel? How long is it gonna last? That's the problem right there. That's your problem right there. No expectations. Life will just completely disappoint you because you're trying to control it. Just do the next right thing and get into the guidance system that is consciousness, and it will guide you. And life will be a lot easier. Trying to control the journey is never, and that's when everybody starts to squirm on the ground and run around, fighting it. You're fighting the medicine. You're fighting consciousness. Like, that's why you're going through what you're going through, is because you're trying to control the medicine. You're not going to win.
Yeah, it's true.
Stop. Just stop. Stop all of it. Stop. I'm here to tell you, just be. It's so much easier. And trust, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of trust. So thank you for everything you guys are saying. I controlled before. I'm always like, especially when it's new, what's gonna happen, all the fears that come up about what it'll be like, what's gonna happen to me. I'm controlling always before I do something, and for whatever reason, once I do it, there is a huge surrender. But I'll tell you, and I'll be very, very vulnerable in this, that when Yuri and I were out of country, I think it was the third night, which was really fucking intense medicine. And the first thing that I saw when I laid down was myself as a baby being sexually abused. I had no context for this at all. I cannot tell you that happened to me in this lifetime, and I actually don't think it did. But it was the most strange thing, but it was very clear. And then after that, because the medicine was so intense, it was just, have you guys had this with a million colors, neon, it's going so fast you can't even perceive. And I just had to let go, bring it, whatever this is. And then at some point I started to drift down and calm down. And this picture came again. And I didn't know what to do with this picture. So I went to the shaman. The one thing I always do too is ask for help when I need help. And I went to the shaman and expressed what I had just seen. It was confounding to me. And however, I couldn't articulate the conversation. I was so deep in the medicine, but he guided me. exquisitely because I accessed depths of grief that could have belonged to every woman or baby on this planet and had nothing to do with me, but was choosing to use me as a conduit to come out. And I grieved, and I grieved, and I grieved. And when I was done, there was this pause. I remember the shaman was sitting here, and I think my hands were on his knees. And I just looked up, and I was hysterical laughing. There was this pure joy coming out of me. And then he started laughing, and it was such an exquisite moment of allowing whatever this was to process through me and surrender to whatever it was. And I somehow did feel like a conduit or a past life. It didn't feel like this life. But I was willing, whatever was presenting, okay, you're next. I'm here for it. And it was a very, very, very powerful moment to be able to move from such depth of grief and what felt like trauma to this pure bliss and joy and laughing with the shaman.
May I please add something?
Yes, please.
So I really love what everyone said about intentions. I feel like the medicine will work through you regardless, based on what everyone's saying. I do feel like I still do stand by intentions being important, because we wouldn't even be here today if we didn't have any. He wouldn't be done with alcohol if we didn't have any. She wouldn't be so spiritually gifted if she didn't have any. Sometimes we don't know we have intentions. Sometimes we don't know we have access to this higher version of ourselves. And that's why it's so cool, because the medicine will do it for you. Even if you don't know, even if you're like, oh, I'm just depressed, I need a spirit lift up. That could be your intention, but what comes afterwards, there's a new study that came out recently that says, mushrooms don't give you more ideas. You don't like start thinking differently. What happens is with the ideas you do have, they just expand, they grow. What you know about yourself is already in there. It's deep in your soul, it's deep in your spirit, it's always been there. But having that access pass, you even doing medicine is an intention because you wanted more. All of us wanted more. We said, hey, we're gonna do the work. Whatever that way is, we did the work. So just, sometimes we don't even know we have intentions, right? It could be something so vague, just wanting spiritual enlightenment or wanting to go deep, right? Like, I truly do think wanting more in your life, in your spirit, in your mind, in your soul, it's something that you have to tap into. You wouldn't even be here if you didn't have these intentions, right? All of us, us as a community, we're all here to learn about plant medicine. You don't have to be here. You don't have to care, but you do, and we do. So just something as a reminder, it's like sometimes we intuitively, we have these supernatural powers, every single one of us. We're all so gifted. Everyone has something to bring to the table. So as a reminder, like, tap into what is it that you want to bring to the table, and yeah, the medicine will work through you regardless, whichever route you take. And follow your heart, because your heart is going to guide you no matter what. So just a reminder, right? Because I do think intentions are important no matter what. And I love that we have them. I wouldn't even be here today if I didn't. My intentions came from drug abuse and substance abuse. I lost over 15 friends by the age of 18. They all died. So if I didn't have these intentions of, hey, I want to help people substitute, let's get them on this other stuff, not the drugs that kill them, not the alcohol that poisons them, right? And look at all of us now, like we have access to this stuff, during the day, like I think he mentioned, like, this was really underground. Like, this was, like, no one, I always talk to all the elders, and they're like, yeah, like, back in the day, we would do it when we had no intentions, And now we do. We came to a spot in the world, in this realm, all of us, we've evolved, we've transformed. Now we can see our purpose. Now we can see the vision, and we can do it. And that is the magic of the medicine, right? So just a reminder, because sometimes, you know, the medicine does definitely work through us, and it makes us feel so amazing that, yeah, you never know what will happen in different journeys, but it's the whole journey, right? It's like beginning from when we're born to the end when we pass away. We all go through the cycle. Something dies in you, something rebirths in you. And that's the beauty of life. So just a reminder.
Thanks, Tiana.
Could I actually add in to what she said? Because I did want to actually maybe share what like you meant by setting intention is important.
Sure.
And also understanding where some of the other are mentioning about intention, as I've been in this ceremony space for hundreds of ceremonies as a participant and facilitator, and every single ceremony we set intentions, right? And what I feel like maybe Debbie is saying, I don't know about intention, is because I was sitting in the intention with the intention of, okay, at the time, all right, God, give me some answer. That was my first intention. And we're going around and everybody is just kind of asking what they want. And that's what I feel like what you mean by what kind of intention is that? Because yes, you're saying, yeah, should I fire the assistant? That's not an intention,
No.
basically. There is a deeper, actually, true intention behind that. And that's what I feel like maybe what Tiana is bringing to the table. Because the medicine will actually work with your true intention, not what you're saying in the circle, right? So if that's the reason why if you go to party with Psilocybin, you're gonna have an experience depending on your intent. You wanna go and party, and they're gonna give you a party, right? They're not going to, right? They're not gonna give you sacred experiment
Right.
because you're intending to party with it.
Right.
And same thing with LSD, right? That's why we used to call those things party drugs, right? Because intention of those psychedelic was meant for you to party with, right? Now, if you are doing a sacred ceremony, yes, I do intention. But do you know what I ask? I said, everyone wants happier life, more peace, and everyone wants to create something better. That is our intention. And I ask people, why did you come? Why did you come to this space?
Oh, why did you?
Right. What brought you here? Because medicine will work beautifully with why you came. And that is how I set intention, so I will continuously set intention.
And just to strengthen that, I think that you're absolutely right. I think it has to do with specificity. So I think what is really being expressed, and I think that's what Debbie meant, and you can correct me immediately if I got it wrong. But I think there's a sweet spot where it moves between control and just the allowance of what's supposed to unfold through you. And I think that's essentially what you guys are expressing. So it's not so much like we can call a lot of different things intention, but you can call it your state of being in that moment. It doesn't really matter what you call it. I think
It's a matter of semantics. We're getting kind of hung up on
Yeah,
the word is. It's just like, why are you here? And then just release control.
yeah, that part, the way to
The
Tao,
words,
that part is
semantics is getting confusion.
yeah. I think the letting go part, but at the same time keeping some of the agency. So there's almost like this
Correct.
navigating basically, because very often you're saying it will work through you no matter what. I mean, you can say that even if it takes you to a dark place, it was intended. I can say, well, you know, everything is out there, so not necessarily. It can also go sideways. So
And that's a perception, though.
sure.
What is sideways? What is dark? What is,
There's the people that end up in really bad places.
Some real dark.
Yeah. That happens. I've seen it happen. And I can say that was beneficial. So I think that the deeper point, and I actually think you're right. I think it's just semantic. I think we all agree. I think we all basically trying to say in the middle of it, there's this pure moment of whatever it really is. And if we can just get in touch with that.
Yeah, the bottom. Yeah, you know, the other thing is that way, but I agree with you so much. We know it's silly, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of those weird things. I think the best way, we're having a San Pedro ceremony next month, and we presented it like this: come with a question. And that is a cool way, yeah, because that's what I'm realizing. And, you know...
Can you give us an example, like what kind of questions?
Can I fly away?
No, should I go into music professionally? I'm feeling this thing with my relationship. Is it salvageable? Or is, you know, with the medicine? Come in with a question. And we've all heard that. Everybody on this panel has heard that. There's some real wisdom in that.
Yeah.
Because when you come with a question, the intention is right behind it. That's where it's the motor behind the question.
Right.
You know,
Agree with them.
would I have more peace of mind if I moved to the country and move out of the city?
Yeah.
Right? That's a question.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it. So, and we're going to do it like an executive retreat, so people with real questions about real life, not so much, should I play more golf in retirement type things. But, you know, like...
My favorite Terence McKenna story is when he talks about an interaction he had with mushrooms, and he goes, I asked, is it the right thing that I'm doing right now in life or whatever? And answered, what kind of chicken shit question is that?
Right.
That's not for me to tell you.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to open up to questions now, so if you have a question, I think Pam is going to come around with a microphone, and we'll just wait for the microphone to come. If you have it for a specific person, let us know who that is. And then also, when you answer the question, tell people where else you're going to be through the weekend, where they can find you if you're doing a workshop, another panel, book signing, anything like that.
I really love the discussion. Also, 10 years sober from alcohol. I tell everyone I'm sober from alcohol, but I do all the other drugs.
California sober.
California
Cali.
I am very passionate about integration and embodiment. And there's been a lot of talk, just among the community of what the next stage of integration really looks like. The great thing about me being sober for years before I touched any plant medicines is I actually did a lot of foundational work in therapy with, lots of different modalities. And so when I did start to dip my toes into the plant medicine space, I feel like I had a great foundation to resource from. I have witnessed some people who are close to me who went into the space. And of course, it's a very subjective experience, but I would say didn't necessarily have the tools and the resources, and their life took a turn. And I'm curious, and I don't think this isn't for anyone specific, but I would love to hear your thoughts on integration and embodiment and I guess building systems of integration for some of these other resources when you're outside of medicine.
Yeah, that's a huge question. Paul, do you want to take that?
Yeah, to me it's everything. When you do a psychedelic, and I'm sure you've sensed that from all the speakers here, that we just love it. And we have a great time. And it's wonderful. And it's like it can be like going to Disneyland. You have a wonderful time and you see beautiful things and whatever the case may be, but everything is integration. We see it as two steps. One is the awakening. And we've all had that, haven't we? That moment where we went, oh my God, this is who I really am. Like, this is the real me. How do I implement that in my life? Monday morning comes, the phone rings, you get bad news, grief, you have a fight with your ex, you going through a divorce, some dear friend dies, life starts lifing. How do we I'm God, wait a minute, how do I bridge that gap. And unfortunately, and I just want to say it, I don't see any good integration programs out there with psychedelics. We'll talk about it, yeah. But my opinion of what's good may be different from your opinion. I see some integration programs that are built, because we're in the educational space, right? They're built on making life changes, losing weight, doing exercise, I'm not talking about that. We have one problem. I have one problem, I'll speak for myself. It's called Paul. And Paul has embedded framework in his brain, default mode network, that is embedded in my brain. And my problem is one thing, Paul. And that one thing of Paul is his thinking. And I don't see any programs. Ours is, by the way. It's solely centered on that. Thinking. My problem, Prince kills himself, Jim Morrison killed Jimi Hendrix, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself here. Bring it up to Anthony Bourdain, bring it up to Robin Williams, bring it up to anybody you want who have everything in the world, all the money, all the fame, all the power, everything, and they commit suicide because they have one problem. It's the thoughts in their brain. And so to me, it's awakening and then dealing with the thoughts in my brain. That's when I said, I wasn't being mad to that woman, I said, you have to suffer, because that's what brings us to the point of saying, I know where the battlefield is. You must suffer. And suffering is a jewel. It's a precious jewel. It's hope. It's transformation. Suffering is everything. But until you become aware of that, and not focus on, I gotta lose weight, medicine said I should get in shape, that's all not it. It's not it. It's this thing, this Paul thing, that gets hurt by when people say things. It's this Paul thing that wants attention. It's this Paul thing. That's my problem. It's not those other things. And it's waking up every day, making a commitment to be observant of what's going on in my brain every day. And that's all I care about. That's all I care about. Of course, everything else evolves so beautifully when I take care of that. Everything out here is right on every level. When this is not in shape, I'm in fear, anxiety, depression, nothing goes right. So that's my 2 cents on integration. I don't know if anybody agrees or...
On this one too. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm a professor at Pepperdine in Malibu, and the kids are so focused on their studies and their GPA, and I'll tell them your credit score is infinitely more important than that. But they're not thinking about life past that. And if they're fortunate, and I'm a believer in radical life extension, Pepperdine will be so much more part of their lives as an alum. And we've talked a lot about intention here, and you brought up integration. I don't remember the last time any one of the hundreds of people I facilitated for asked me about integration.
No.
They're so focused on what do I do, what do I get, and so much of the work, so much of the magic happens after you've had time to sit and talk about this. So it's wonderful that you're going to start some type of clinic that you focus on this. And that's one thing I think I need to focus on more as well, because it's a privilege to introduce people to psychedelics. It's a responsibility, and I think everyone who's facilitated this had some difficult experiences. But, yeah.
I do have a small thing to say. So I think that, well, for me, integration is mostly around what we experience most of the time, which is just these mundane, everyday moments. And I always view psychedelics, and they have a different window of this. So mushrooms are a prime example of this. I see them, I always compare them to glass blowing. In order to reshape a glass, you have to heat it up. And I believe that's what mushrooms do to our psychology. It basically heats up the glass of your psychology so you can reshape it now. The thing with that is it's kind of up to you what you do with that. I mean, you can sit calmly and allow yourself for it to inflate to its regular shape, and then you feel more harmony. Or something can happen and a hole will be punctured through the glass and then it will solidify with a hole in it. So I think integration for me has to do with that window of opportunity right after. There's an afterglow, and different substances, they have a different window. But if we can focus there, I feel that's the main thing that really does the work. And because I'm a long-time Vipassana practitioner, I noticed that there's a lot of correlations between this, with specifically mushrooms do, for example, because they do reduce the DMN activity, and Richie Davidson discovered that the same with long-term meditators, they just know how to do it on command. So that reduction of the self, of the Danny is the problem, Paul is the problem, right? There's a healthy shape to it, that it ceases being a problem and becomes a loyal servant. So it's almost like your mind wants to solve problems. It's not doing anything wrong, it just wants to solve problems. There's no problems in view, it will make up problems to solve. But the thing that I've actually kind of noticed from Vipassana is that even seeing that as a problem is a problem. It's not really a problem, it's just doing what it's doing. And then the animosity goes out the picture. And then, so what I'm saying is that in relationship to psychedelics, they kind of do it for you, so you don't have to practice for 20 years doing whatever, but then use that opportunity in the next 3, 4, 5 days. Notice little things like you go and wash the dishes and just feel the warmth of the water. And just like, oh, because it's very, physical, so you're like, oh, that's so nice, And then just appreciate these little things, as trite as it sounds, just expressing it. But it's real, and you have an opportunity to feel that deeper after you're on psychedelics. And the more you do that, you basically train your brain to fall in love with the mundane, which is where you spend most of your life, and not in these peak moments, basically. So
there's one tool I want to put it out here tonight, and you've got great representation for it on this panel, by the way, and that's microdosing. Yeah. Microdosing, to me, is the integration tool. I was awakened, but I need a reminder. And it is, to me, it is the most, and all of us, I think, on this panel are microdose freaks here, pretty much.
I use Mark's microdose.
Yeah, Mark, we have him at our booth as well, and Yuri has him, and Paul works with microdose, and even microdosing DMT, and Mama, you do too, I'm sure.
I do.
And so this gives us that. In other words, I had this awakening. How do I take this new awareness into my everyday interaction with people? How do I interact in a more loving way? I know I'm love. I know I'm divine love, but this Paul thing keeps popping up. And I take a little money. Huh?
All this talking about Paul.
I know, it's not that Paul. It's Paul K, not Paul H. But I think we'd all agree to that, Mark. I think you've seen that.
I'm trying to jump in here because this is one of my experts.
Yeah.
I'm living proof of the integration. What I do want to say is, it is extremely important. I can't say it enough, because when you do a deep dive psychedelic journey, you're destabilized. And when I release you back into the wild, it's not good. And that is irresponsible. So the neural pathways are freshly open, you're vulnerable. The nervous system is it's just vulnerable, right? And everything wants to jump in and everything's gonna affect it, and it can be very traumatic because people are not, in other cultures, we can release people into the wild easier, but in America, LA, no. Right?
No.
I really believe this now. So when we do ceremonies now, we mandate that we do a 30, 60, 90-day integration program. Microdose, obviously, and then, whatever it is, we customize it. We have AR program, we have a lot of different things, but we just shattered the neural pathways to build a new identity. This is the way our structure works. We're building new identities. We're not chasing shadows. Right? So the whole idea is to change, and you change the identity. Okay, what does that mean? All right, we break open chemically the neural pathways, now reprogram. But to reprogram, you gotta do it every day, like a habit, right? Mm-hmm. So then it throws it into the subconscious mind. Now, eventually it becomes you, right? I am no longer an alcoholic, so therefore I don't battle alcohol anymore, right? But until I did that, it takes a minute. Right? It's just like working out. So, we're big in the Kundalini yoga space, and I was like, this is so fucking hard. We're holding poses for 11 minutes, but I realized we're rebuilding the nervous system. We're retraining the brain. right? And over and over and over again. And then the cold plunges, the saunas, the breath work, repeat, the journaling, repeat, new identity, new thought patterns, new speech patterns, et cetera. Okay, now we're gonna get some change. Because if you don't do that, you're just, it's just not, it's an experience, but it can be actually very, it can be very harmful.
Yeah.
Especially right now. The elders that warned me a while back, they said the veil's very thin right now, and there's a lot of darkness floating around. So there's a lot of destabilization, let me rephrase that. And we're seeing that, and we supply lots of facilitators medicine, and they're reporting back to me the same all over the place. Destabilized. It's not just, it's just like, that's what's going on. And if we're healers, I have to say this out loud, this comes with the territory, right? If people are coming in, oh, that person's dark energy, well, that's why they're here.
Right.
Right? And if you can't handle that, then you should not be guiding ceremonies. Because that's what it's about. And when the shit hits the fan, how are you going to navigate that? That's when
I love these people say, oh, this is so dark energy. The white kills the dark. What?
Right? So that's important.
What do you even...
We have the resources to get through the destabilizations, and they get gnarly. But that's why they came here. Because if they were clean, what's the point?
This is so important. Thank you for that question so much, because that is a piece we didn't cover and must be covered. To release people out after a huge experience, and we have more questions, Cam. Is unethical. So beautiful. What's your question? And hopefully we get Tiana in there and Yuri.
Well, this is actually for Yuri.
Okay.
For me, what I feel like is just kind of an inner guidance is the exploration of realms. I'm just fascinated with that. It kind of drives me to be who I am. And by realms, there are so many. The Fey realm that you mentioned, I wanted to ask you about that specifically, but there are so many other slices of reality. There's the realm of the jinn that the people in North Africa and the Middle East find to be an everyday part of their reality. There's the realm of the elven kingdoms of Scandinavia, the Orishas of the Igbo traditions of West Africa. So many things like this that are slices of other realities that people in different parts of the world find incredibly important and are the tools of their everyday existence. So since you mentioned your engagement with the Fey kingdoms, I wanted to ask, have you had any specific conversations or identified any particular beings and legends? Of course, there's kings, queens, princes, warriors, builders, magicians in the world of the Fey. Any particular beings that you've come across that have engaged with you?
I mean, there are many, and it's very personal and private. Who comes in? It's not like a named as King Henry came into the ceremony. It's actually they are beings who are, as I mentioned, is in your origin, comes in. Actually, you call it entity, and yes, it is possible for other entities that they can come into, but many of the journey, you are engaging what is actually living in your subconscious, who are from your past lives, who actually are parallel life, and also a multidimensional space. So you are accessing the Akashic records from your past, present, and future all together. And it's not like, but the Jesus Christ is something that very common that people engages a lot of. And ancestors are, including myself, engages a lot of, because we have the connections, and what we're dealing with basically is generational trauma healing. So a lot of that connection does come into the space. I did want to mention actually, because it is such an important part that we did not really get to cover. My ex-husband did almost 50 ayahuasca ceremonies, and still did not heal because there was no integration. And that's something that I wanted to share. The negative of not integrating. Same thing in my 7 years of volunteering in a practice of ceremony. I've engaged all these people coming into the ceremony space 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And they're still having marital problems, and they are still going through the alcoholism, right? Why? Because there is no integration. And I ask, and that's the reason why I'm not with that community anymore, because I questioned them. And the reason is because it was more of a little bit of a cultish, and they are doing a business. So if you offer integration, there is no more business, because people will heal, and then they will not come to the ceremony anymore. And this is something that I learned. My facilitator did not want to teach me how to facilitate. I studied to facilitate myself because I have a framework behind me because I do regression therapy. So I started doing that, and he's like, don't do that. Don't chime into what people are going through. Let them just be. And I'm like, but I'm an extreme intuitive. I know what they're going through. I can see their past lives and inner child crying that's coming out of the ceremony. And you're not gonna do anything about it. I'm not gonna try to heal them. I'm just trying to guide them. And guiding them after the ceremony is what I believe is the most important thing that I can offer. So what I do actually, my integration practice is actually come to my full moon ceremony. It's monthly, and it's always there. And it's a place where you can come and integrate what you've been going through, whether you're doing microdose or macro ceremony. And this is something that our ancestors used to do. And this is something that came to me in my engagement with the mushroom spirit. And